director of Central Intelligence testified today that the CIA engaged in widespread mind control experiments in the 1950s and 60s and said that efforts are now being made to notify people who were unwitting guinea pigs. Stansfield Turner, the head of the CIA, said he found those programs totally abhorrent. 185 private researchers were used in 80 different institutions, including universities, chemical companies, and hospitals, many without knowledge of CIA involvement.
The senators heard CIA Director Stansfield Turner's explanation of how the old documents on CIA drug tests had been discovered in a records.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
President, I am also determined to maintain America's leadership in space. The first great era of space exploration as an initiative, unprecedented. But the second era of the space shuttle, when we follow the great benefits that have been made possible by that exploration, is about to begin.
Enterprise was the first production craft of the Space Shuttle program and was used in the first flight test program at Edwards Air Force Base in California. The Enterprise will be making a low pass over Montreal tomorrow. Its flight over Montreal is part of the 3-day goodwill visit to Canada, arranged by NASA in recognition of Canada's cooperation with the U.S. in its space program. Unlike its sister spacecraft Columbia and Challenger, Enterprise was never in an Earth orbit. Instead, it was used to study the orbiter's flying and landing qualities and aerodynamic properties during airborne glide tests. When the Space Shuttle surfaces tomorrow afternoon, she'll be flying piggyback aboard a modified Boeing 747 jet.
J. Edgar Hoover FBI building houses the Bureau's Washington headquarters. Supporting local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, the FBI makes available the most scientific and proficient crime-fighting capabilities ever developed.
I never have to ask around to know what's right for me. I like my fun, I like my friends who keep me company. And when I want some cooling down or picking up, you see, I don't have to think about what to drink, 'cause milk's the one for me.
Milk is the one. Gives me the cold, fresh taste I like, the lift I like.
I don't have to think about what to drink, 'cause milk's the one for me.
Milk's the one.
This whole neighborhood, Hutchison Road, has been wiped out. Houses leveled, wires, poles, and power down. You better send everything you can get over here.
Everything we got's rolling, 962.
In the morning.
We had a tornado. That would be the understatement of the year.
Oh my goodness. In fact, it's like 100,000 tons of bombs.
Of course, you know by now that Elvis Presley died yesterday. Later today, his body will lie in state at his home, Graceland, in Memphis, Tennessee.
Earlier this week, Democratic congressional leaders urged President Carter to their reform proposals for a while. They were unsuccessful, as Marilyn Berger now reports from the White House.
After Health, Education, and Welfare Secretary Joseph Califano met with President Carter this morning, he said the administration will present its proposals for welfare reform this week, as planned.
The President's program is going to be as he's promised. It'll be very pro-work, it'll be very pro-family, it'll be very anti-fraud and anti-abuse.
Just days before the message is to go to Congress, a final picture is emerging of what the proposals will contain. The program will require no additional cost during the first year. Work incentives will be provided, but there's no sign there will be enough work to get a large number of people off welfare quickly. Income supplements to the working poor will be determined by both salary and family size. Welfare mothers will not be required to work if their children are under the age of 14. States will receive some financial relief to help pay for welfare programs. How much is not known. Influential congressmen have warned the president that many of these proposals are highly controversial and that action this year is very unlikely.
With the exception of preventing war, this is the greatest challenge that our country will face during our lifetime. The energy crisis has not yet overwhelmed us, but it will if we do not act quickly. It's a problem that we will not be able to solve in the next few years, and it's likely to get progressively worse through the rest of this century. We must not be selfish or timid if we hope to have a decent world for our children and our grandchildren. We simply must balance our demand for energy with our rapidly shrinking resources. By acting now, we can control our future instead of
one process.
As a matter of fact, it's in the tri-state area of Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming, there are 1.8 trillion barrels of oil in place, and that the recoverable oil from those deposits is probably of the order of 600 billion barrels. Now, this is more oil here in these deposits that is calculated to be recoverable than the proven oil deposits of the entire world.
The two areas where we waste most of our energy are transportation and our heating and cooling systems. Transportation consumes 26% of all our energy, and as much as half of that is waste. We simply must save
One energy idea that is here today is the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, a stockpile of oil stored in underground caverns called salt domes. These reserves are like money in the bank, to be drawn on when needed. Maurice Graber, the Department of Energy.
The cavern beneath us will hold about 16 million barrels of oil. The 5 caverns on this complex will store about 60 million as they now exist. The major purpose of the oil storage program is to stockpile a reservoir of oil which will be available in case a shortage develops for any reason.
Good evening. Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. Apparently it was a heart attack. He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing. His road manager tried to revive him. He failed. A hospital tried to revive him. It failed. His doctor pronounced him dead at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
During the night, one of the jets belonging to Presley brought his former wife, Priscilla, and their daughter, Lisa Marie, to Memphis from California.
You wish you hadn't have taken it?
Well, not particularly. I think after reading the books, I don't think at first, initially, I thought it was going to be damaging, but after I read 4 polygraph books, and it didn't seem all that damaging because it's not all that exact. And once you read a book, you can't beat the test, but you can keep them from beating you. For instance, you can learn how to breathe as normal and things like that.
2 unmanned spacecraft, Voyager 1 and 2, lifted off from Cape Canaveral atop Titan Centaur rockets. Traveling uninterrupted through interstellar space, the Voyagers will endure forever, long after everything man has ever built has crumbled into dust. In the event the spacecraft encounter alien intelligence, both voyages carry a copper phonograph record, a message, celebrating the sights and sounds of Earth.
And friendly wishes.
These unique discs contain photographs of everyday life, as well as voices, offering greetings in 55 languages. There are also animal noises, the music of Beethoven and Chuck Berry, a baby crying, laughter, rain, and a...
Simple as can be.
Skateboard safety is simple. Never ride in the street, and before you take off, put on your gloves, elbow and knee pads, and helmet. It's no fun to wipe out, but if you do, you'll be protected. Safety gear. And more fun on wheels.
There's a key, and it makes it just as simple as can be. Guard your elbows, head, hands, and knees. Do it for your own security.
It helps a lot.
It's the key.
Just in case.
It's the key.
And the shuttle Columbia is due to return to Earth later today, and the weather is cooperating, but there is a potential problem. The hydraulic system is broken down, forcing Columbia to rely on backup systems.
To tell you the complete story of these activities, we are professing to tell you the complete story that we know. Right. But these records that we've uncovered don't tell the story. They tell pieces of
The buildings behind me were the headquarters for the World War II Office of Strategic Service. It was here that the first halting steps toward mind control began. The shaper and molder of OSS was General Wild Bill Donovan. He said of his group's work, "We may have made mistakes, but we were not afraid to try things that were never done before." In this anything-goes atmosphere, Donovan appointed this man, Stanley Lovell, a Boston industrialist, to break new ground in many scientific and technical fields. Donovan called Lovell his Dr. Moriarty, after the fiendish professor in Sherlock Holmes. Lovell liked the name and posed for this Saturday Evening Post photo. He later wrote of his OSS job that it was, quote, to stimulate the Peck's bad boy beneath the surface of every American scientist and to say to him, throw all of your normal law-abiding concepts out of... Here's a chance to raise merry hell. It was in this atmosphere that the search for mind control...
CIA Director Turner said such tests stopped years ago. He said he found it abhorrent to use human beings as guinea pigs.
In this note from White's diaries, it says, call Lovell regarding TD. TD was a rather transparent cover for Truth Drug. George White worked with the Truth Drug Committee here at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in the nation's capital. They experimented with mescaline, scopolamine, and marijuana on unwitting victims. The committee soon learned there was no easy panacea, no truth drug at this stage. But White and later colleagues would not stop trying. The goal remained the same. As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual to the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation.
Make up for a meet and treat Halloween this year. Meet the neighbors and treat the kids. Keep children out of masks that obscure vision and in short costumes to prevent tripping. Reflective tape makes them glow in the beam of headlights. For fun and safety, accompany children on their neighborhood rounds in the afternoon and early evening. And be sure that all candy is wrapped and sealed. Make Halloween a time to meet and treat. It'll be fun for...
The CIA's interest in LSD was intense. The worry was that the Russians would get hold of it. Were the Soviets into LSD?
I'm going to have to say I'm sure they were, but if you ask me to prove it, I've never seen any direct proof of it.
But at one point, intelligence information received from Switzerland said that Sandoz Laboratories was about to put 100 million doses of LSD on the open market. and it caused enough concern within the agency that the United States was prepared to buy the entire supply.
I once thought the women's movement belonged more to my daughters than to me, but I have come to know that it belongs to women of all ages. I am proud to say, and I want you to know, that Texas was the 9th state to ratify the right of women to vote, and the 7th state to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment.
I move the adoption of the following resolution. The Equal Rights Amendment should be ratified.
It was an historic moment 15 years ago today. The world watched as 2 Americans landed on the moon's surface for the first time. The dream had become a reality. It was the fulfillment of a national goal set forth by President John F. Kennedy in 1961.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Neil Armstrong, does it feel like ancient history or only yesterday?
Well, in many ways it seems like 15 years, but many of the individual parts of the flight I recall as if it were yesterday.
By today's standards, the Apollo technology must seem pretty primitive. Was it part miracle? Neil?
I think it was about 99% dedication of the people who put our spacecraft together and ensured it worked the way it was supposed to work.
Thank you for sharing this anniversary with us this morning. You look fine in business suits. You looked great in spacesuits. We'll be back after a station break.